I'd like to welcome our expert panel for this evening, Hanan Gefen, the former commander of the A200 Intelligence Unit, and Doron Avital, former commander of Sayeret Matkal Special Forces. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Hanan, we'll start with you and question of where is Yahya Sinwar and where is Muhammad Deif and Marwan Issa, the leaders of Hamas? 4 months on, Israel controls the ground, from air to ground, and still no sign of them.
Yeah, we're getting closer. It's not a secret that the tunnel system is. It was a surprise to Israeli IDF and the intelligence branches and all its kinds. The huge the division for tactical, logistical, and strategic tunnels. Each of them has a special function. Special routes, and it just demonstrates how seriously and meticulously did the Hamas leaders prepare for this moment. They anticipated it. I'm not sure they anticipated the depths and the way Israel reacted, but they certainly were prepared to a prolonged war, and especially to try to avoid the Israelis at any price. Now, we are entering a very interesting phase. We are in the last, I say, week or so, we are getting more and more information from the IDF that now trying to portray whereabouts of Yahya Sinwar, which we didn't know for at least for 3 months, not in the north, around Shifa, which was. We hope that he was there, very general host. And right now, there are more and more information coming in. I would say more and more from human sources, because these are the sources that know the whereabouts, the tunnel structure, the habits of these leaders. I just want to mention a very interesting remark that the IDF spokesman said the other week. He said that we have captured 3 Hamas people in one of the strategic tunnels behind heavy doors, and these guys will supply us. They are supplying us with very accurate information. So for me, this was the first time I felt that we are getting near these guys.
Yes, Doron Avital, likewise. Where is Yahya Sinwar? You've commanded Sayeret Matkal, you've commanded and took part in such operations. How complicated is it to lay hands on him, which won't end the war and won't end Hamas, but it will be a huge blow for Hamas?
Sure. I keep asking Hanan Gefen whenever I'm meeting, where is Sinwar? But of course, none of us know here in the studio. But I hope our intelligence, as Hanan portrayed it, came closer. We have this fine General Nitzan Alon, who is also a commander of the unit. And the gathering intelligent and human right now might be the key source. But I think it's important to think about the phase that we are in the war right now as that a little bit like a hostage taking scenario, the way we used to do it. When we used to do in a traditional hostage taking scenario, you have the negotiation team and you have the forces that are communicating with the negotiation team and are waiting for the right moment either to break in or to negotiate a deal. So basically, in the large scale of things, this is where we stand right now. We're advancing in Khan Yunis, trying to push, trying to corner, or in Rafah if it comes to Rafah, and on the other hand, trying to negotiate, and maybe it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, so Doron, you've touched the issue of Rafah. Staying with you, Israel is in kind of a limbo when it gets to Rafah, because the Egyptians are very much afraid that thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of 1.5 million refugees, which are now within the Rafah area, will just run into Sinai and into Egypt. And Israel has a problem because it has said that it won't let those people, the refugees, go back to the north of the Strip, to the Gaza City area. But operating in Rafah, having those 1.5 million people around you, it is quite complicated. So how do you finish Hamas without operating in Rafah, and how do you operate in Rafah having these two huge obstacles?
Yeah. I think this is a major dilemma right now, and I think it requires navigation, like in terms of the commanders in the field and also higher in the political echelon, what to do in Rafah. First of all, we have to put, apart from the citizen in Gaza out there, the question of the relationship, the close cooperation with the Egyptian, because I wouldn't want to blow this cooperation. We're talking about the Philadelphia route and Rafah. So this is very important that there should be some intimate cooperation in terms of the intelligence agencies. And then you have to work very surgically and to be very careful, because we are the time in Rafah doesn't work in our side, and we can't allow ourselves the terrible outcomes in terms of killing citizens there, that we have to be very careful and very intelligence-based the way we move.
Yes, on to you, Hanan Gefen, staying with the question of Rafah and the need to contact and to cooperate with the Egyptians, because the day after, if it's up to them, I mean, given 99% of what's going on from and inside and outside the Rafah comes from underground. So we need the Egyptians to operate in Sinai in order to block Gaza, to block Rafah. We need to cooperate with them. How do you do that when there is, when we receive and give cold shoulders between the administrations?
Yeah, I would, just a surprise remark, the Egyptians hate or dislike Hamas, and not less than us. Just a quick reminder that 10 years ago or 15 years ago, Hamas was a close ally of the Daesh, ISIS group that the Bedouin were harboring in the Sinai Desert, killing hundreds of Egyptian soldiers. And the last thing the Egyptians want is to see these neighbors still going on and flourishing. The only issue, as Doron mentioned, is doing it very carefully with, and I would say, relying on the intelligence, very good cooperation that serves both sides on many other things as well, to be able to find a solution. The solution is not very complicated. One is, of course, the tunnels that connects the Hamas to the world and to the Bedouin Sinai, which might be one of the escape routes if worse came to worse from their point of view. And the other thing, of course, is getting rid of the Hamas power, the Hamas brigadier, because they might be the starting point for rehabilitating or rebuilding themselves. So that might be, once we reach agreement with the Egyptian, I might see a case where some hundred thousands of Gazans will be asked to move 10 kilometers to the north and to evacuate the Gaza to the Rafah area. It should be agreed by the Americans and by the Egyptians. Otherwise, it will be a huge human problem. But I believe that both the Egyptian and the American understand the importance of getting rid of this Hamas brigade or whatever force will be left in Rafah in the next week after Khan Yunis forces will be dismantled.
Hanan, staying with you, we see the IDF reoperating in the northern parts of the Strip, mainly in the city of Gaza. Why so? If the operation has ended a few weeks ago, why going back?
Yeah, it's very interesting because this is an unusual way of thinking, military thinking, and I would say even very innovative, because we do not want to capture Gaza. We don't want to stroll in the street of this city. We want to get rid of the ability and the personnel of Hamas that control Gaza. Now, if we can do it from outside the build area, so we are less exposed to individual operation of leftover of Hamas, and at the same time we can operate very targeted operation, intelligence-driven operations, as we have seen the last week. And I believe we'll see more of that because the Hamas will try to establish its civilian ruling capabilities and military one. Once we have the intelligence, then the forces can get in. The commander of the division working in Gaza, Itzik Cohen, said it took him 1.5 hours to get in and to the same place that it took him three days a month ago. So this is a new tactic that we will see it in the coming year, I believe. This will be the way the IDF will operate all over Gaza, the same way coming in and out intelligence.
Doron Avital, last words from you regarding the same question, the future of the way the IDF will operate in Gaza?
Yeah, I think key to this, because Gaza is not such a big space and we can go in and out and raid inside, but we need to have this air superiority in terms of like supervision and see what's on the ground, and therefore the dismantling of the tunnels is such a key for our ability to go in and out and very fast and to identify the threats. So I think this is the aspect, the engineering aspect of this campaign that is very crucial. The infrastructure is dismantled to a great level. Then, of course, it would enable our troops in and out, commando raids, the way we did in Lebanon many years in the late 80s to the 82, and in many other places, the way it goes in the West Bank in many places. So this is what we have to foresee for the future. For the future, and we're talking about even a few years ahead.
Yes, interesting, which means listening to you both, there is a long way to go, a lot of work to cover, and we're still speaking about a long war which will change modes. Doron Avital, Hanan Gefen, thank you, gentlemen, so much for being with us this evening.